All right, round two.
All right,
Welcome to the
welcome
show,
back,
guys.
everybody. Hopefully, Kevin's mic issues are fixed and we can get ready to get started. So, let's start with the news again. Summer sale continuing with Rochester CCG. We decided to keep it going. Hopefully, figure that we're going to say. Ugh, I did this so much better the first time.
Sean O'Brien,
So,
you're just trying to bring the deals to everybody, to give everyone the best prices that are humanly possible for UFS singles.
20% off their normal prices. And don't forget to use the buy list, which will let us get more money for you to buy cards from the new set. So sell us your old cards, get new cards. Everybody wins, especially me. And so
But Sean wins less. Like you win more than usual because you're getting 20% off these days.
that's
Uh,
true.
so we've got some exciting news. We've got some exciting announcements trickling out of Gencon. We've got a new promotional card available. Why don't I pull that guy up right now? In fact, 8-bit base.
8-bit base. I think this is one of the snazziest 8-bit promos they've done. I think the colors, work really, really well. I feel like previously they really tried to force, the character stage into the background, and this one they kind of just made it all 8-bit and pixely.
Yeah, just kind of
I
understated and the same kind of. I really like the kind of like the gradient of the same colors you see in the card
Mhm.
as you get towards the edges. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, this card's not anything we haven't seen before because we already had, base be spoiled previously, I think last week. But, people really like collecting those 8-bit ones, and that brings us to thinking the number 8-bit cards are there's Mega Man, Dr. Wily, Proto Man, Gemini Man, who's banned, Nightman, and base. That's six
What,
Mega Man
six?
8-bit
Yeah.
cards plus the 8-bit Ryu from Street Fighter.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
awesome. I really like the alternate art kind of just as a way to inject some excitement, some variety into the cards that are available. A little bit
now the question is,
hint
Kevin
factor.
Broberg, I don't want to cut you off here, but if they're releasing this 8-bit base at Gen Con, does he become legal and standard?
Hmm. Well, I see he has a base watermark, so I gotta wonder if the base watermark is just when it's going to, like that's just how the legality works. Is just that's going to be legal and whatever else isn't.
Fair enough. That seems reasonable. Speaking of the base head watermark, do you know that Battle for Power is officially out in 22 days?
Yeah, man, that's I can't believe how soon that's really going to be. 22 days, but we've got I believe there's a pre-release event just before that's stunningly close.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, 2 weeks from Friday is when pre-releases are going to start. And hopefully Jasco keeps up the pace with the spoilers, because we did get a pile of spoilers that we are going to talk about a little bit later on.
Yeah, I think we may. I think we jumped the gun a tiny bit here. Actually, I'm going to pull base off the screen now. If you look at our background right now, you will see something a little bit different than our usual Top Deck Heroes singing upper background. These are volunteers helping set up the Jasco Games booth at Gen Con right now, or well, I mean probably not literally right now anymore, but today. Um, you wanna?
Oh, sorry. We actually had a couple more things in the news, Kevin
Oh,
Broberg. We
geez,
do
yeah, this is
have.
our. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think you jumped
I
the gun a little
see.
bit.
See, like we were talking about the Gen Con, the promo at Gen Con, and it became a little bit okay. I wasn't actually reading the schedule.
So we do want to remind folks that we do have the pre-release kits for Battle for Power available at RochesterCCG.com for just $576. You get 8 booster displays, you get 4 playmats, a poster, and the exclusive promos, which pretty exciting because normally for that price you would pay well over $600 to get those playmats and the promos as well.
Yeah, this is you buy 8 boxes, you get a pile of swag for free. This is the minimum advertised price for these boxes. You can't get them cheap. Sean, like retailers are legally disallowed from selling them to you for cheaper, but they can package the swag up with them to make it a better deal, and that's what you've got right
Gotta
here.
love the swag. And so our last bit of news, we want to talk a little bit about Fernando Aragon. He is a UFS player we know. He's currently running a Kickstarter for his card game, Steal the Show.
Yep, and here you can see a bit of the, well, 80% or so of the artwork for their their crap, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of their banner here. They're live on Kickstarter. You can check out their videos and their materials related to this, and go give them some of your money to follow them, help them get this game off the ground. It's a combination of everyone's favorite things, trading card games, and Shakespeare. So, I mean,
That's one of your favorite things is Shakespeare?
it's everyone's favorite thing, right? I mean, we use those phrases.
No.
We use that stuff all the time. Sean O'Brien, don't be a natural coward without instinct, okay?
I'm really excited for this game. I watched the gameplay video. It seemed like the gameplay at least is easy to understand how the game goes. It seems like there's quite a bit of strategy involved, but as far as a game that you can open the box and actually play with, this seems like it's going to be really good for that. And I find a lot of times now games really, really struggle to do this.
Yeah, and it's really awesome that they can kind of piggyback on some of these really recognizable concepts from theater and just famous classic stories to help to push it forward even further. And I mean, like,
Hmm.
it's awesome that they just have. I mean, if I get a like just if there's a mechanic where you get to read some of these cards out loud, that's just gonna be a great time. I mean, I remember playing Top
So
Gun. Oh, it's a great time.
So remember to back Steal the Show. It's actually 86% funded right now through Kickstarter. We actually have a prototype here in Rochester that hopefully we'll get to try out this weekend. A prototype printable right now and cards in hand means they're very far along in the design process. And I don't think they're going to struggle the way that other Kickstarters we're familiar with have struggled, having not been designed and not having prototypes. I think we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's as Kickstarter has evolved as a medium. I think that there's a lot more people take their upfront design costs and just take them on the chin, and then use Kickstarter to really push them over the finish line and get that kind of the large orders you need to get a cost-effective printing and get a real shipment out the door at the end of the line once your game is basically finalized.
Yeah, I think overall it's a better practice to, go to Kickstarter much later in the design process. I mean, I understand that designing also costs money, but I feel like the distance from Kickstarter to finished product is a lot shorter when you are this far in the design phase. But that also assumes you got a fair amount of capital up front to pay for things like art and salaries and the prototype and stuff like that.
Yeah, and especially like it might make sense for to Kickstart or like I don't know. So when you're paying salaries, I feel like Kickstarter almost may not be the place you need to be looking at. I know that there's been some Kickstarters that were just to demonstrate kind of customer interest for like a major game, like that would be I mean even an indie game studio that needs to pay its like you have to pay your designers or your graphics designers like your 3D modeling artists. They need salaries. They can't work for free. It's too valuable. So but I know they bet like I think there was a game that raised like $2 million, and that was to drop in the bucket to secure funding from a real game studio that was like funding the $13 million budget the rest of the way. Anyway, Kickstarter.
Go ahead and back them. I mean, they've got 14 days left, I believe, and they're 86% funded. I'd really like to see this happen. I've known Nando now for almost 2 years. He's a great guy. I think he's really passionate about what he's doing. Very professional. I think his game video was really good. So, if you can get a couple bucks, he's not asking for a ton of money. He's sunk a lot of his own personal money into this, and I'd really like to see this be successful because I think there's huge potential here.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a bump from the biggest 4 days in gaming. If anyone's at Gen Con watching this, make sure to raise a stink about this if you meet anyone. And
exactly.
All right, back to.
So let's move on to Gen Con.
Yeah, I'll bring us back to our main scene here. Heck, actually, let's go through some of these other pictures. We've got, they got the main scene here with the what are these posters in the background? Folks setting them up.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got some shots of the kind of just the mountains and mountains of product they've got on hand here, and some of the posters. I guess our faces are kind of in the way, so I'm gonna turn our faces off real quick for this one. Oops,
No.
that's the wrong button. Yeah, and you can see all the volunteers, all the boxes, all of the shipping materials here that they had to do. It's a big deal. Biggest 4 days in gaming, and Jasco Games is there in force.
The Jasco Games booth is always, to be honest with you, the last couple of years, I think has been one of the best booths in the exhibitor room at Gen Con.
Yeah, that's certainly tried to
The
make a
steel
splash.
frame's a really professional setup. And I mean, you walk into it, and it feels like you're actually walking into a store. You're not just walking into some guy's booth at a convention.
Yeah, in a big way.
So,
It's an experience. I mean, you're at Gen Con, so there's gaming all around you. But at Jasco Games booth, like on the sales floor, you can go play games. You can go get really knee deep in this stuff and play demos and stuff. It's really amazing.
so speaking of Gen Con, so Jasco Games is setting up their booth right now. I'm sure they're still setting it up. I know that thing, because of the size and the scale of what they do every year at Gen Con, I know it takes hours and hours and hours to get done. And I know those volunteers are working real hard right now. I'm going to assume, I'm going to step out on a limb here and assume, like in previous years, they're going to be demoing UFS. They're going to be demoing Mega Man the board game. They might be doing Top Gun demos like they were last year. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot of demos going on, a lot of people getting interested in UFS, and overall just growing the game. There's always a huge surge after Gen Con.
Yep, it's I definitely there's this huge surge after Gen Con, and hopefully that huge surge kind of hits a wave and keeps it going when we have people coming back to school. I know that's something we want to focus on here in Rochester too.
Mm-hmm. Now you'll be able to get those swanky 8-bit bases that we saw at the beginning of the show here at the top of the hour for $1 at the event. My understanding is that's how much they've been in previous years. And so I think that's going to be a really great time to go out and get those. They'll be available afterwards on Kickstarter. So, I mean, exciting stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that we've got a fairly iconic character of the Mega Man franchise going to be out in front here. Maybe not quite as iconic as Mega Man or Proto Man, but right up there in a big way.
So, to my knowledge, there's no sanctioned events going on at Gen Con this weekend. However, I wouldn't be surprised if, there are people playing Turbo and doing other events there as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of demos, lots of people who'll just have UFS decks and, maybe playing pickup games or whatever. It's a bit of a departure from previous years when the World Championships have been held. But this year, I think that the community sort of made its voice heard, and that kind of the idea there was that we didn't, as a lot of people in the community didn't want to foot the bill of going to Gen Con, of getting accommodations that could be quite expensive, and only to play UFS for a whole weekend, because we played a lot of UFS. Like everyone deep in the community really loves the game and is happy to play 4 days of UFS and take vacation for that. But
they're not so happy to spend upwards of $1,500 to $2,000 to play UFS for 4 days.
Yeah, so I think the new national championship in Atlanta this year should meet our needs. I'm pretty excited for that. But we wanted to take a bit of time to reflect back on what we had in the past couple of years.
This is our first years in my Kevin. The first time we haven't been to Gen Con in 4 or 5 years.
I feel like it must have been like 2009. No, it can't be. It can't have been 2009. I don't know.
Maybe 2011. I think we started going back again.
Yeah, that would make sense. 2010 or 2011. Let me see. When did Michael come
out? So, I want to look back at last year's Gen Con just to take a little stroll down memory lane. If I remember correctly, Garrett Brett had won the World Championship, his first of 2 straight World Championships last year at Gen Con. He beat Jeffrey Kahn in the finals. Garrett was playing with himself, like always, and Jeff was playing Snake Man. And Garrett claimed that he could not lose to Snake Man, and I watched those games. That third game, there's just no way Garrett could lose.
Yeah, I know. I know Giggles took a game off of him, and I believe in the first game that he lost, Giggles was slight. It was an inaccuracy away from, like, I think getting a turn or something, getting a chance. Anyway, he ate a Navos that was for something like let's just say it was 20 damage, and he was at 20 life, but he actually had he had a leftover enhance at the end of the enhance step, so. Even though he played it, like Garrett passed, he played his enhance anyway, and it didn't do anything because then Garrett passed again. He had to pass in the enhanced step. But if you played that earlier, he would have taken one less damage and lived. He had actually had just enough enhances to go to one exactly, and get his turn back. But it's certainly it's Garrett's a very powerful deck, and in game 3 he looked unbeatable. I remember there was a
Yeah,
lot of resource denial for a 6-hand size deck to deal with that game.
everything came up Zoidberg.
Yeah, so you were judging this event, right?
Yeah, I was.
I remember I played a pretty memorable tournament with with Tim Keefe deck given to me because he would be off at his father's wedding for this Gen Con, and I had an absolute blast playing that deck.
Then
A lot of good stories.
that was when Lion Stance won their second card. Well, their third card rather. I'm sorry, I do apologize. I believe they defeated.
They defeated some Calgary B team or something. It was I know it was Devin, Kirk Poka, and I want to say Tanner.
That sounds about right. Yeah, they're all wearing the Molson hats. Oh, that was a good time. That year we had a little bit less of a turnout than the year before, and I think that's when the tide started turning towards the let's not play at Gen Con sort of thing.
Yeah, it was a little rough. We had just had two sets that year, but there was a lot of tumultuousness in the meta. People had started hitting the complain button pretty hard.
Because last year at Gen Con, Felicia had just come out. The Warriors of the Night had just come out. 3 months before that, not Rule of Time, Rise of the Masters had come out. And after Gen Con was when Tides of Vengeance and Red Horizon was to rotate, if I remember correctly. Or did they rotate before?
They must have rotated before.
You're right. I believe they rotated when Warriors of the Night came out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why my Gemini Man deck was so bad. Or no, did they even rotate before that? Maybe they rotated with
Rise of the Masters.
Rise of the Masters.
Maybe I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, it's hard.
Let's talk about other things that happened. So there was a lot of things announced by Jasco Games at Gen Con last year. Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Cowboy Bebop for UFS. Tabletop games for Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Dragon Ball Z, and the Top Gun party game was actually demoed at the event.
Yeah, it was a really exciting event. We had those were absolutely enormous licenses. I remember the crowd that had been gathered up, and just the amount of noise we made probably rivaled like the people who organized themselves to be really loud for the sake of being really loud across the event hall.
Unfortunately, the results have not been quite as exciting. Just to get back to speed here, for the Mortal Kombat card game, we've released one card. I believe they had some like the gray 3D models at the last con I went to at Jasco Games, which was back in May at Level Up Expo with the 2K. Same deal with Street Fighter. They released a promo Ryu, then they released another promo Ryu that was the same in 8-bit, and they had the non-colored figures spoiled. I haven't seen anything yet on Dragon Ball Z, nothing on Cowboy Bebop, but I have had the Top Gun party game prototype in my hands, and I've looked at it, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Top Gun party game is a nice concept, but it's also by far the lightest weight of all these ideas, for what that's worth.
Well, that's because you were born in the 90s, Kevin.
What? I just mean that it's not like big metal materials or like hours and hours of development fine tuning.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like light as in like unexciting or not important.
No.
I was gonna say because Top Gun. Actually, I got full disclosure. I've never seen Top Gun. I've just only seen the best parts.
I don't think there's actually a card specifically called a homoerotic volleyball montage, like in Cards Against Humanity, but it's there in spirit. That's for sure.
For sure. So that was a trip down memory lane to Gen Con 2016. I'm excited to see what Jasco Games does for this year, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
I think
and
it's time for
so
some spoilers.
yeah, to go with our theme from the past to the future. Last week we talked about base. We got base up on the screen here real quick. Let's talk about this week's spoilers, and let me actually figure out how to drive my setup here. All right. Yeah. So first up, we got Slash Man, a new character card. Why don't you read him off,
He's
John?
exciting. So he's a 7 hand size 20 vitality character with air, death, and good. Oh great, more air stuff.
Cat
Response
baby.
after the ready phase, seal one of your opponent's foundations. Which I just want to stop there. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So I mean, this ability reminds me of Donovan, a 6 hand size character, and this is like Donovan's premier ability was a first F, which lets you seal 2 of your opponent's things, and in exchange they get to seal 1 of yours, and that's all he did, and he had to choose his cards as his first form. Slash Man gets to turn off 1 card on his turn on offense, and as long as he stays ready, he can turn off a different card to play defense on.
And it's likely he'll stay ready, considering his second ability doesn't have a commit cost. He has E once per turn : if this attack has no abilities, add the top card of your deck to your momentum, and your opponent discards a momentum.
Yeah, this ability is
That's like
extremely good.
that's like one of your favorite cards, Kevin.
Oh, this is are you calling back to Mishima Zaibatsu leader, or are you calling back to
That
something
I
else?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Oof, Mishima Zaibatsu is filthy. Yeah, so
So
if it's easy to just like as an easy shortcut, if your opponent cares about momentum and you can maneuver the game to where there's attacks with no keywords, this is awfully a lot like going up 2 cards for no cost. So you get to draw a card, get an extra resource with your momentum, and you take away one of your opponent's resources by taking away their momentum. And at 0 cost, once per turn, like you can do this on both turns even if you enter in the right situation. This is really really powerful.
yeah. In fact, let's move on to some of his support to hopefully make that second ability make a little more sense.
Yeah, let's jump in with Jurassic Jungle.
Jurassic Jungle. 3/4 asset with a +2 mid block with air, death, and good. Now, this is a terrain asset. E discard a momentum : seal this attack playable by either player. And then Archimate, after your opponent plays a form ability on an asset or foundation, cancel it.
Yeah, this card has a lot of. This is a really high impact card. Slash Man getting to disable his opponent's ability to use the terrain effect here is really really good. And yeah, after playing with High Seas Adventure over the last PDC and having a very very good time with that, sealing attacks can be a really huge effect. Taking away effects on cards like Etencels, Trinity Geyser, Nevos. I mean, for all of these, you have to be able to get the first enhance somehow. Um, but if you can do that, it's just incredible. And
Now, if you seal a card, it has no abilities, right?
yes,
Or does it mean the abilities can't be played?
so it loses abilities. So
So,
if you play this enhance on your opponent's attack, you are 100% guaranteed to be able to pay. If you're playing Slash Man, you can get your momentum back right away by playing his once per turn ability.
that seems really good.
Yeah, this is a very powerful card. It is a 3 difficulty 4 control asset with only a +2 mid block, which is not a great block. So you can tell that kind of the Jasco Games crew had a lot of respect for this card. I mean, Hanya is a similarly costed effect, and it's a 6 check, and it's not a terrain, so your opponent can't terrain rule it.
Yeah, one of the things here that this card has that we haven't had, I think, in a minute here, is a repeatable negation effect.
Yeah.
Those have been, under Jasco Games, those have been really hard to come by. The only one that really jumps out at me is Damnation, which was a unique foundation with an Archimate. After your opponent plays an enhance on a foundation, cancel its effects. And that also didn't roll a block at all.
Yeah. So I think one important thing to note about this, though, I mean, I rattled off a bunch of cards that have powerful enhances. Unless you do some other trickery, you have to do a bit of legwork to make it work where you actually prevent your opponent from playing their most important enhance on the card. So if they play that Trinity Geyser, you can seal it, but it'll really just take away stun 2, unless you get the first enhance somehow. And so my first thought really with this card is wow, is it good with Airlight Key out of cutoff support. So you steal the first enhance, and then you immediately seal their move.
Well, NJ in the chat also recommends it with Satoshi.
Yep, Satoshi does the same thing, really. He always gets the first enhance, so he can take away those abilities every single time. That's only legal for 3 months, or 2 months, I guess, really, until the set until Blood Omen drops in October. So keep an eye
Mm-hmm.
out on that for the time it's available.
Yeah, overall, I think, as far as the train ask goes, this is very powerful. And hopefully that means we're going to see a few more terrains getting played here in the future.
Yeah, what do you think about that? The response commit on this card too, especially combined with Slash Man to kind of lock down your opponent's board.
I mean, Slash Man has a really good ability to take it. A lot of times he takes your opponent's options away. Sealing your opponent's attack, especially if it's an attack that's got a couple of enhances on it you want to play, or even if it's not the enhance on the attack's not the one you want to play first,
Mm-hmm.
that could put you in a situation. I mean, I would hate to have my opponent have Jurassic Jungle, and I play like a Finale Rosso.
Oh, that would be awful.
Yeah,
It's the combo enhance, the one that, like the big payoff. It doesn't even do anything until. Oh no.
Rain Flush I think suffers really hard to this card because you have to pay for your multiple the fairway if your opponent has Jurassic Jungle in play.
Well, you can also just force them to spend their momentum. I'm thinking one of the natural places homes for any card with a momentum cost is Felicia. But if Felicia throws away her momentum on kind of frivolous enhances that don't matter that much, you might play your cards just hoping that she will throw away that momentum.
Mm-hmm. As far as the response goes, the first thing that came to mind that I would want to cancel with Jurassic Jungle is Lion Buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very, very impactful asset ability. Canceling. I think that just the combination of this with Slashman can be really potent because just negation stacks up. So you take away your opponent's option, their first option with Slashman. You take away their second option because they don't want to run into Jurassic Jungle and throw away, commit their Lion Buddy for nothing at all. And then they're pretty soon they're gonna have no options left. They're only gonna have
Mm-hmm.
one good option, and maybe it'll walk right into your Templar or something. Who knows?
Right. So, I mean, let's look at some of his other cards
Yeah.
because things will really start making sense when we get into his attacks.
All right, so we got Egg Drop here. This card is three's the card.
3, 3, 3, 3, 3. 3 difficulty, 3 control, 3 low block, 3 high for 3 damage.
All right.
The only place it's missing a 3 is its powerful ability.
Well, I actually made myself a liar. It's got 3 keywords, 3 symbols, but then it has the digit 2, powerful 2, and then its enhance ability is enhance your opponent discards digit 1 momentum and seal this attack. So it's got 2 non
this
3s.
attack,
Bummer.
I feel like this attack's kind of got a couple of modes here. So you have abilities that you can play on it with the powerful 2. Then you can seal it, which then turns on Slash Man.
Yep. Yeah, Slash Man.
So you could just
Slash Man. It's a little awkward with Slash Man because you can't seal it and then Slash Man enhance to get momentum to pay for the powerful cost. But you can rip apart your opponent's momentum very quickly with this effect.
yeah, you discard one of their momentum, then you seal it, then my attack has no abilities. Pitch one of your momentum, I gain 1. So your opponent's down 2 and you're up 1.
Yeah, it's a bad place to be. I want to point out too, this is a card with both the death and good symbols that is a ranged weapon, which matters a lot for cards like Blizzard Sword or Shield Ram. Well, it matters for each of those individually, but having cards with both keywords means that you can build your deck around, say, ranged pumps, things that pump ranged attacks, and also things that care about weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, Donovan
I think
Fabian.
Reese is going to really like this card. The new promo Reese.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he gets to draw a card and then draw another card if it hits. That's a good exchange. Now you're up. You played one card. You got to draw a card. You got to take away your opponent's momentum, and then you maybe get to draw another card if it hits.
And on a 3 high for 3, your opponent might just let it hit.
Yep. This is a pretty solid common. I'm also reminded a little bit of Crescent Moonhook, just as an attack you might put in your deck to take away your opponent's momentum.
Yeah.
You might. I actually,
And
I
I
could,
mean,
I could imagine seeing this in sideboards too. Just like one or
mhm.
two of this, because you can put more attacks in your deck sometimes in just some matchups.
Well, I feel like a lot of decks that aren't broken like Felicia and have to generate their momentum the fair way is like dealing damage. Something that says your opponent discards a momentum for those decks is a really big deal. And it could end up being a big deal for Felicia because she may be scared of Dragon Flare right now, so she may only have 2 or 3 momentum. And making her pitch a momentum down to 1, I think is really devastating for her attack lineup
Yeah, absolutely.
if she can't get 3 speed on everything.
I think a Death deck can threaten both of these cards, this and Dragon Flare, and that could be really challenging, really frightening to play around as Felicia. Who
Hmm.
needs both a critical mass of momentum and also needs to not get killed by Dragon Flare. Because it turns out that's a pretty important part of UFS these days, not dying to Dragon Flare.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, we've got Raging Slash.
Or you mean numbers the card, Kevin Broberg.
I
Let me
mean,
tell you. Let me tell you about how amazing the numbers on this card is.
so
Okay?
can I summarize real quick? It's the card
Sure.
Cleave from back in the day, but with one that's difficulty and another keyword. That's it.
So for those of you who aren't old and remember cards like that, it's a 4 difficulty, 3 check attack, 4 high for 5 with a +0 mid block. That's a punch and a weapon. And it has nothing else in its text box.
Yep.
It's a plain Jane already sealed attack pretty much.
Yep. It comes pre-built with no abilities. So you
But
are.
it is a 4 high for 5 on 4 difficulty, which is nutters.
Yeah, this card is pretty great. It's an incredible follow-up to a Blizzard Sword, especially if it's been multipled. Just overload them in those high zones, get your stun 2, get your high speed going. It's got an incredible block modifier. It's got both the punch and weapon keywords. So we were talking about Reese. Reese is absolutely thrilled about this card. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
And if
just
you're really struggling
numbers.
for a high zone attack with a mid block in Felicia, you can throw this in Felicia because it's a punch.
Hey, yeah, let's go. Um, I don't know if I'd play it over Cat Spike, to be honest. I think the one speed isn't quite worth the losing the
Well, Cat
great
Spike,
ability. But
yeah, Cat Spike does have a great ability.
if you're playing if you just want to, what I really like about these kind of cards is like you can just like it, cards with great numbers like this just allow you to play the game even when things aren't going your way necessarily. You can
Hmm.
it lets you like play bluff attacks where you don't actually have very much, but your opponent doesn't know that, and if your opponent blocks the +3 high and checks bad, maybe they'll just let it fail because they're afraid of what you have to follow up. And on defense, you just give yourself a chance to live against all kinds of stuff. We're talking about Dragon Flare. +0 mid gives you a shot to block a Dragon Flare, as long
That's a
as you
true
have
story.
anything ready.
Now, one thing that's also going to be interesting about this card is in the limited format. This is at common, and this is just a strong card that you're going to see pretty frequently in your draft pods.
Yep,
So
you're
I
gonna have
wouldn't be
to.
surprised if people draft maybe 5, 6 of these for their deck. I mean, high zone's already more difficult to block, and it's 4 high for 5, especially in limited, is not something that you could just shrug off.
Oh no, absolutely not. I think in limited, really in general, attacking is much better. You don't have the constructed quality defenses. You don't have cards like people can't play Templar, people can't play Powerful Assassin usually. Like those cards just aren't available so much, and so throwing out an attack is just better in a lot of ways. You also can't get backswung as hard, nearly as much in
Right.
limited. So like getting chip shots in is very important, and
Hmm.
just this is a great card for limited. It is a mid block, and everyone knows mid attacks are terrible, so you never want to play those. And so you'll probably still take half damage if you're blocking with this. So it's a really dynamic decision. Would you rather hold this to attack with, or take 3 damage off of whatever their attack is? So
Let's move on to our rare attack we got this week.
it's a lot of words about a vanilla card, but yeah. All right,
Yeah,
Slash Claw. I want to read this one off.
go
So
for it.
here we've got a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 3 speed mid for 5, so it is a mid attack, not great. It's got a 0 low block, which is great, and it's got 3 keywords: punch, weapon again, and multiple 1. In addition, it has a first enhance to add the top card of your deck to your momentum and seal this attack. So What this card reminds me of most of all is just Hurricane Upper. It's Hurricane Upper for
Yeah.
grown up.
I'm a big kid now.
You add one speed, but 3 speed mid is not good for a 5 difficulty attack that is very slow, very easy to block. Even if your opponent is tapped out completely and checks badly, our last card still scores that full block. But where this card shines is giving you a free momentum right off the bat. If you need it, if it's late game, you can try to overwhelm your opponent, run them out of blocks with the multiple keyword. And if they have absolutely nothing, this is 10 damage in one card with the multiple keyword.
Yeah. Would you run this card in your Felicia deck, Kevin?
In my
And then it
personal
gets you.
Felicia deck, I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole because my Felicia deck is not about mid attacks. I'm trying not to run into Templars. I'm excited to try out Felicia decks with this card. I think that it's really great. Um, it's just a great resource advantage. If your opponent isn't playing a card like Templar, just throwing a glacially slow mid attack that gives you it's Felicia. It's guaranteed to give you 2 momentum for next turn. So you can just lead off with a poke like this, and get ready for next turn. Late game, still 10 damage, and once you have that 2 momentum, it starts off at 6 speed suddenly. And I think it's really cool with this card in Valiant Assault as well. Just
Mhm.
overload them with those glacially slow but advantage generating mids. It's gonna be really
It's too
cool.
bad that we won't be able to get to play this with Set Reese with the rotation happening right then,
Yeah, he would
where
be
you can
pretty
then.
happy about this card. It's not quite perfect because you need to check a 6 to play it with a punch in your card pool already. But hopefully you can make that momentum into something that's worth it.
Yeah.
Let me think.
Let's talk about some foundations. We haven't had foundation spoilers in a minute.
Yeah, all right. Next we got Deadly Up Close.
This is a 2/5 foundation with a +3 high block. E-commit, your weapon attack gets +2 speed and then seal it.
Yeah, so this is a fine kind of I don't know. It's kind of a fine theme card if you're playing weapons or if you're playing abilities that care about your attack not having abilities. So if you really need
Hmm.
your cards to be sealed, it does the job for that, and it does that even if you're not playing a weapon. So if you really need it, you can take care of that. And also just you commit +2 speed. It's a fine effect. You can try to you know punish your opponent for tapping out and make some unblockable attacks that way. It's a
I
fine
mean,
common.
two
You're definitely gonna
speed.
take this.
Yeah, 2 speed on an E-commit is pretty good. And if you've already played all the relevant abilities on your attack, who cares if it's sealed?
Yep, it's pretty much just it's honestly, you know what this card is? It's teaching players how to play the game correctly. So you want to play your enhances that don't commit any resources, so like free abilities on your attack, for example, and find out what your opponent is doing first, and so then you want to delay the enhances like this until the end of the enhanced step. And so play the abilities in your cards first, then play your speed bumps.
Hmm. Speaking of free abilities, let's talk about our last spoiler.
All right, Wild Temperament.
Wild Temperament. Go ahead, read this one off,
All
Kevin.
right, it's pretty quick. It's a 1 difficulty 5 check +3 mid block, so it's got some echoes here. I'll bring up in a sec. And it's got only one ability. It's got the same 3 symbols that all the slash band cards have: A or Death and Good. It says Enhance free ability. Your face-up attack with no abilities gets 1 speed and 1 damage. So, if you sealed your attack with the last card, here's your payoff.
Yeah. Or if you played one of Slash Man's other moves, or if your opponent Jurassic jungled you for some reason.
Yep. So the card this reminds me of is a card from King of Fighters King of Fighters 13, the first one, called the Human Weapon, which is that if your opponent had no cards in their card pool, you get +1 damage. And that was a common, and I recall drafting a deck with about 7 copies of the Human Weapon, and my attacks were all enormous at absolutely no cost to me. It was I'm pretty sure it's like a crap an infomercial I could channel here. All at no cost to you. We'll bill it straight to Medicare. Uh, Bill it straight to Wild Temperament, and you're going to get a giant pile of free speed and free damage. This card
This
takes.
card. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say this card takes Slash Claw and turns it from a 7 up to an 11 real quick.
Especially in limited. This card is going to be nutters in limited. That and Slash Claw
Yeah,
together. I think those might be the best cards to grab in limited
yeah.
if you want to win games.
if you're drafting, there's a lot of packs in like you got to open a lot of packs when you're drafting UFS, and so if you can discern what's going on around you, and if you can like in the first couple packs try to get your neighbors to not have any slashman cards to get into other decks, maybe pass them strong uncommons or even rares in these symbols, and if you want to pursue the strategy, you can try to pick up a just huge pile of wild temperaments, and you'll have an insane deck at the end of the day if you can get a lot of ways to seal your cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this card's really good, and I think if you build your deck around it, this card will be nanners.
Yeah, it's really
'Cause
exciting
if you can
and
get
constructed too.
Yeah, if you can get into a place where you can reliably seal your moves, or you reliably have cards with no abilities on them, and you get two or three of these in your staging area. I mean, we've banned characters with +3/+2. So
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to look at it. This is basically just stacking more Gemini Man on a one difficulty foundation, which
yeah,
isn't as good as as stacking them by blocking, but it's more reliable.
that's a true story.
All right,
I
let's
mean,
get into our
overall,
spoilers. Oh, go
overall,
ahead,
the
go ahead.
spoilers this week, Kevin, I think are really, really good for limited. I think some of the spoilers before, they just haven't really screamed limited to me like these ones have, and I think part of that is because of the simple abilities on these cards.
Yeah, these are simple, straightforward, very easy to understand. These cards are gonna having these cards in booster packs. I feel like is good for drafting because drafting is already extremely complex in UFS. UFS is extremely complex. Drafting is extremely complex. Adding them together is just going over the top of what a lot of people can handle. And so having a nice, simple, solid-looking card like Raging Slash, give them a raging clue about what they should take with your first pick. Just take the card with all the nice numbers.
So, I believe our next segment is everyone's favorite segment, and that is Kevin's top five. Kevin, what's our top five this
All
week?
right, this week we have the top 5 reasons I'm frustrated by Open Broadcaster software, which is actually the top 5 2-card combos that you might not know about. I feel like these were just kind of really cool synergies that I think not enough people maybe know about, not enough people take advantage of, and are just kind of tools that take these symbols that are a little bit underplayed, a little bit underloved, and might help bring them into the limelight if more people know about them. So we're going to get right off to it. I don't have any pictures for you because top 10 reasons to be salty right here. Um, we got What Lies Ahead plus Throw It Down. So I think Throw It Down is really the star here as just a card that I think doesn't get nearly enough love. If you can correctly kind of predict what your
There's not
opponent
nearly
wants to
enough
do.
copies of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the promo from Worlds last year helped out a little bit with that, I imagine. And it's getting a Blood Omen reprint, so hopefully it'll be a bit more available. Because I really love the gameplay with this card. It's an extremely powerful defensive piece. It's a great specialized block, as well as a card that lets you reduce damage without actually passing the check for the speed. So against a character like Mai, if she pumps her attack to like 12 speed, you only have 2 ready foundations. You can't ever block it, but you can still throw it down to protect yourself a little bit from the damage. Anyway, uh, what this combination gives you is just the ability to all but guarantee that you're going to draw a card, take away your opponent's option to maybe if you play throw it down, then a big high attack, and they have a shield ram in their hand, they might have to try to weight that how they want to play it, and maybe spend their shield ram defensively to just keep a life buffer to keep you from drawing a card. This combination guarantees that you'll get almost all but guarantees you'll get to draw the card off of throw it down, and really takes a lot of the risk out of that risk reward trade off. Um, yeah, throw it down's really the star here. This is a really fun card to play with. Number 4, this is a somewhat well-known combination in 1 or 2 incarnations, which is combining using combinations of cards that allow you're using powerful enhances with destroy costs like on unique foundations like Silent Assassin or Unquestionable Loyalty, and combining it with Athena, Airlight Key, but really cheerful and friendly. So we've seen a couple of Athena decks that were using this. Not so much recently as DeForester came into the limelight and also got smashed out of the limelight by all the asset hate everyone started playing. Um, but and if anyone's built the Kadath deck, they're probably taken advantage of this. But I think Cheerful and Friendly is a powerful card that doesn't see nearly enough play for how big of an effect it can have. Doubling up on an effect like Silent Assassin or Unquestionable Loyalty can completely break a game wide open. And so I think this is a really powerful combination that needs a little bit more love. I think we've only seen one Kadath deck, maybe even registered at a tournament, and it did top 8 in Las Vegas PTC. But I think that this is a really powerful angle for them to explore with like key.
Yeah, I'd never even considered like registering maybe like a Proto Man deck or any Earth deck with Cheerful and Friendly and Prototype. Because if you can get 2 momentum, hitting up 2 prototypes on 1 attack is really, really good.
Yep, +6, +12. That's a one-shot kill right there, boys. Um, so a little bit on the topic of one-shot kills, our next combination involves Graven Castle Ruins, which has a very powerful effect and adds a lot to speed and damage. You can get multiple copies of the same card in your card pool. But what we're interested in here is actually the second ability. I know I actually told this to my brother a minute ago, and he said, wait, why does this do anything? Because he thought that Graven Castle Ruins only added more copies of the attack you're currently resolving to the card pool. It doesn't. It allows you to add any attack. And so with Graven Castle, you can add attacks like Assassination Attempt, and now suddenly turn any of your foundations into a momentum effectively to pay for any kind of cool costs like Shiranui no Mai or even Skull Barrier, which is another card you can add to your card pool using Graven Castle Ruins, and just get a really powerful defensive resource out of nowhere, just having your staging area turn into it.
That's silly. I never even realized that.
And this is also available. Graven Castle Ruins doesn't actually share a single resource symbol with Assassination Attempt, but you can make a pretty close facsimile of it using one of the Neomax foundations out of Kyo's support, Destined Warrior. The same trick applies. Destroy it, add any attack from your discard pile to your card pool, and then if it's an Assassination Attempt or a Skullberry, you can immediately use its abilities out of the card pool. Graven Castle Ruins really basically is just the terrain version, which turns every foundation in both players' staging areas into a copy of Destined Warrior, if they're the first player to play that enhanced during the enhanced step. Number 2, the number 2 card combo, is another kind of slightly redundant one. One of the combo pieces is Hunters Once More, a classic spam foundation out of Sinco's support, which allows you to add further copies that you play into your momentum as soon as they hit the card pool. It's a pretty fancy design for a singleton character to reward you for having 2 copies of the same card, but whatever. And then the combination with it is either Hakeshu of Death, which allows you to add a momentum back to your hand. Typically used on offense, it has a further restriction that you can't use its ability if you've dealt damage to your opponent. But where this matters is on defense. If your opponent plays a Rain Flush, you have both Hakeshu and Hunters Once More in your staging area. You can block with a second Hunters Once More, add it straight to your momentum, clear your progressive difficulty, get that momentum, and then get it back with Hakeshu of Death immediately, paying 2 life, and then fully block the second half of Rain Flush. And so as long as you can pass these checks, this turns every high attack into a full block that costs you 2 life. Similarly, that's available on the Chaos symbol. You can do this on the good symbol with the foundation Tough and Cool, which forces you to randomly select your momentum, so you probably want to have as little momentum as possible before you start putting Hunters Once Mores into it. But then it's just E-commit, fully block this high attack. And that's a really powerful effect to have, considering it costs you basically nothing once you have that momentum going.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's
what's the number?
That's my dream with this, is just to have cool, amazing abilities. By the way, your video appears to have frozen, Sean. Oh
no,
it's back.
I'm frozen. I'm back.
All right. That might have been on my end. I'm not sure. Anyway, the number 1 combination is a bit of a 3-piece. So it's a 2-card combo that really wants to have another effect mixed into it to really maximize the effect. But it is the Champion of Southtown, which is a foundation for an F commit. You add any foundation from your discard pile to your card pool, and you combine this with the Hunt for Spiders and Dragons. So what this allows you to do is before every attack, you stick 100 for Spiders and Dragons in the card pool, you play your attack, you flip one of your opponent's foundations, you pull the Spiders and Dragons down into your staging area. And then the ideal third piece here is Ladies' Man. Then, since your Hunt for Spiders and Dragons is ready, you destroy it, draw a new card, and now you've turned an F commit of a single foundation into flip your opponent's best foundation plus draw a card. That's insane.
You have to
And
off-symbol for that, though.
you do have to jump through some hoops for the symboling here. Although right now in standard, there's some good options. So Champion of Southtown, you can build your deck on an all good or life. And if you build all of your cards to chain those, and then only your attacks need to chain with spiders and dragons. So one good example here is I've built several Yellow Devil decks taking advantage of this, where I play Champion of Southtown and pretty much the entire deck on the all symbol, but then I use, for example, Skullman's attacks, which can chain life. I get to play, Skullman, and I just keep thinking of Zing and Splam. Kersplat has life, and for Yellow Devil specifically, he gets to play Magnet Slam as well, which chains Chaos with Spiders and Dragons. Another idea I recently explored in some Octagon games is a Snake Man deck that's built entirely on the Earth symbol, except its attacks are all from Gabrick and Snake Man, which chain both Earth and Life. And then it's got a couple Earth symbol only attacks in there as well. And so it flips your opponent's staging area very, very quickly. Yeah, this is
pretty cool.
This is a really fun combo. I like to try to fit in as much as I can, but it's tricky sometimes because if you don't have the cool thing with Ladies Man is that it also works great with Champion of Southtown, because while it's in your card pool, if any of your attacks deals damage, you get to ready one Foundation, which might just be Champion of Southtown again.
And do it again. Fun times. Build your own Dimitri.
Exactly, and you get to draw cards while you do it too. And actually, I will point out too. I mentioned Snake Man doing this with Earth and Life cards. You can build Dimitri with this too, on the Earth symbol.
I suppose you could.
If you just want them to have no staging area ever.
All right, that wraps up Kevin's top 5. Let's take this one home with the upcoming events. I've updated the calendar, Kevin, with all the remaining events for the year that are on the docket right now. Nothing's on for 2017 yet, but here's what we've got coming up. So the Amsterdam PTC, the 27th, 28th at Professor Bonds in Amsterdam, New York. Remember, folks, that event, you will not be able to use your nice, shiny new Battle for Power cards yet. For what reason, I don't know, but that's what the powers on high have decided.
Yep.
So show up, give your Red Horizon the last hurrah.
Lots of people made their voice heard in a quick straw poll one of our locals, Jesse Savini, put up too. So
of the people in the straw poll, like one person's going to show up.
It's okay. I voted. Anyway,
so
then we've
after that is the Abilene PTC.
Yep, it's going to be the first event after rotation, after the new set's legal and without Red Horizon cards.
September 10th to 11th at Rick's Collectibles in Abilene, Texas. After that is the Warren PTC, September 24th to 25th at Eternal Games in Warren, Michigan. The Santa Clara PTC, October 8th to 9th at Game Castle in Santa Clara, California. Then there's U.S. Nationals at the Holiday Inn in Atlanta. I don't know, that just doesn't feel exciting without a con name attached to it. So that event is the last event before Tides of Vengeance cycles out and Blood Omen becomes legal.
Ooh, yeah.
So at the New Orleans PTC, unless they decide differently, that is going to be October 29th and 30th at Gopher Games in New Orleans, and you are going to be able to play your brandy dandy new Blood Omen cards at that one.
It's really thrilling. I can't wait to see the deck list from that one. Then the following weekend, one of the events I will be showing up to, the Rockford PTC, November 5th and 6th at Top Cut Comics in Rockford, Illinois. Come for the cards, stay for the pizza cake, boys.
Only a couple weeks later is the Poughkeepsie PTC. I like to put a little 2 next to it because they got 2 events this year because they have 2 very popular game stores down there. They've got a very large play group. This one's going to be at Champion Card Collector in Poughkeepsie, New York. I actually really liked this store the last time we went there. It's an old Blockbuster, so it's got a lot of space.
Which one was Champion?
And then it was the one that used to be the video store.
Was that the one that's like across the street from the liquor store and down from the bagels?
Yes.
Okay.
And then lastly for this year is the Riverside PTC, December 3rd and 4th at GMI Games in Riverside, California. So there's a lot of majors coming up. It was kind of dry here for a little bit.
Yeah, I guess
There was only
it must just be a summer doldrums kind of thing. Because I remember we were like having all these theories about why there's so little UFS going on this year, and now we've got a huge pileup of events.
yeah, because we had one event in June, one event in July, one in August, and then there's at least 2 every month for the rest of the year except December.
Yep.
So exciting stuff. And I think a lot of exciting things are coming. I can't wait to hear what happens at Gencon this year, because Jask always does something crazy at Gencon. They have some sort of announcement or some sort of big sale. So good luck to everyone at Gencon. Enjoy the 4 best days in gaming. And I think on that, we'll see everyone next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye, everybody.